So welcome all, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Miles, and I'm the head of marketing at Hospitable. Today, we are all here for a Hospitable Masterclass, where we invite industry experts to share their expertise with short-term rental hosting audience. For those of you who don't know what Hospitable does, Hospitable gives short-term rental hosts their valuable time back. Founded in 2016, we make short-term renting hosting trivial for, that's a mouthful, trivial for over 9,500 hosts with tools such as AI-powered automated messaging, automated task scheduling for your team, a synchronized calendar to prevent double bookings across Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, and your direct booking website, and a centralized inbox to respond to all of your guests across different channels in one place. To find out more about us, you can head to hospitable.com. We've also just launched a private pilot of our long-awaited full-featured direct booking solution. The full product will be available soon, and we'll be providing a link to our waiting list in our follow-up email and in the YouTube description of this video once we've uploaded it there. Using our direct premium product, hosts will be able to use our professional, easy to customize website templates or drop our booking widget into their existing setup. They'll also be able to process online card payments with ease, with Hospitable being the merchant on record there, so covering any processing fees associated with cancellation. They'll also be able to have sales and lodger taxes automatically calculated and collected, and they'll also be able to accept bookings with the confidence of integrated guest vetting powered by AutoHost and $5 million worth of damage protection powered by Superhog. Today, though, we are joined by Damian Sheridan, founder of Scale Rentals and the Book Direct Show. Damian is here to share how to use direct bookings to get consistent repeat guests at your short-term rental properties. Damian, I know it's getting a little late where you are in Spain, but I'm so glad you could join us today. How about we start with a little introduction from yourself, Scale Rentals and the Book Direct Show?
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I just saw a message and somebody said they couldn't hear me properly, but I've just ramped up my audio, so hopefully that's all good. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Damian from the Book Direct Show and Scale Rental Show. Thank you, Caleb, for confirming that. I am an SEO strategist working with property management companies in the short-term rental industry. And also, more recently, over the last few years, I have founded both the Book Direct Show and Scale Rentals. Very much a Book Direct advocate, and alongside our conferences and events, really trying to help the world of short-term rental hosts and owners get more education and really see that the world of Book Direct is attainable, very tangible, and something that we can all employ in our day-to-day business. So thank you very much for having me, Ross. It's a pleasure.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Damian. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Looks like everyone's already accustomed to using the chat function, which is fantastic. Feel free to drop messages in there with things such like you can't hear us properly. Appreciate the shout out there. We do also have the Q&A function at the bottom. Please use that to ask us some questions in preparation for basically putting them to Damian. We'll start off the session with a few questions from myself. That'll kind of cover off the first half of today's call, and then we'll move on to the audience questions. So please feel free to start adding those questions in there now. And you can also use the upvote function if there's one that you really want to get answered. We can make sure that we prioritize those based on the number of upvotes. So without further ado, let's get started, Damian. So the first question I have for you is, we're here to talk about getting repeat direct bookings, but maybe we should start off with focusing on why direct, why short-term hosts should be focusing on direct and, why direct over third-party OTAs, so online travel agents like Airbnb.
Great question to start. Obviously this is quite pivotal for the conversation today. There are not many other industries in the world, I believe, whereby the vast majority of bookings generated, revenue generated, is through 3 or 4 booking platforms. And this is something that I and many people around the world realized between 5 to 8 years ago, that we were headed in a pretty unsustainable way towards a few companies just monopolizing and dominating the market. So for me, it's all about independence and control. Remembering that it's our business. After all, it's not a business that should be dominated by these 3 or 4 big players and ones that should be dominating and influencing the way we work from day to day, because that's how it's changed. We're being forced to do things in a certain way that we're not often comfortable with. And it's not just about commissions as well. Obviously, we all want to reduce those 3 to 20% commissions that we get charged from a lot of these big OTAs. But really, it's just about the freedom of communication. We get these masked emails that we've become accustomed to now, and we have to think of creative ways to find an email address for our guests. This is crazy. We should have the freedom to have those emails. I'm sure plenty of your visitors now will remember the days when we had the rent by owner model, whereby you could subscribe to a certain platform for an annual fee, and then you would get the email address, you would get the phone number, and the booking was yours. And granted, those sites still do exist. However, it's getting a lot harder because many of these companies and platforms are going a certain way, whereby we do get this very, very masked data. We can't communicate with our guests in the same way either. We can't send links quite often, or phone numbers, or anything like this. So it's really the freedom and the independence to communicate with guests in any way that we want is hugely important. And really just to apply your own rules as well. When do you want to get paid? I'm sure a lot of people listening here don't necessarily want to get paid the day after check-in. They would rather get paid before, or they may want to apply the cancellation rules, which are more customized for their business. Or, and security deposits. They may want to work in a different way with security deposits. So it's really just the freedom to work in a way that you should be allowed to, based on the fact that you're building a business. You're not building up someone else's business. We're not all working for, 1 or 2 other, behemoths in our industry. And for me, it's unsustainable, and it's something that needs to be changed. And the more people we have behind this kind of community, this movement, the better.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like, control and freedom is kind of the 2 main messages there. So, that's kind of really why you're selling kind of direct bookings as solution. So can you shed a little bit more light on kind of your experience with direct bookings and like why you got into it in the first place, and why we should be considering you as an expert in this space?
Well, I'm going to show my age here, but I've had an apartment in Spain for over 20 years that I've been renting. And when I first started doing this, getting bookings, direct bookings was the only way of doing this. You couldn't rest on your laurels and expect bookings to come in from OTAs that for the most part didn't exist in those days. Or if they did, they worked in different ways. So you had to be quite creative. Print advertising was a thing then. Can you even get your head around that? But obviously times have changed. We move on. But this is something that I was always aware of. I had to think creatively. We had business cards that we used to give out. I used to advertise on an airline magazine with EasyJet. Just like, things you wouldn't even dream of these days. But these were things you had to do in order to get bookings, to get people to see you, to find you, to communicate with you, and then for you to keep the communication open with them. So I've been doing it for a long time on a personal level with my own apartment. And beyond that, in my professional life, as I mentioned before, I do SEO. I work as an SEO strategist, search engine optimization strategist for property management companies in the short-term rental industry. I've been doing that for about 11 years. And really, there was a point about 3 or 4 years ago when a lot of my clients were asking me to help with things like branding, to help with things, all kinds of social media marketing. And I'd say, no, I can't do that. I'm absolutely rubbish at that. I can't help you. That's not my skill set. However, I know some people who can. I introduced them to some people in my network. And then really just the idea formed that maybe we could bring all these people together in some kind of community. So the idea for the Book Direct show started, where we brought some people together in London a few years ago, and the show has kind of snowballed from there. So it's really, kind of both on a personal level, doing it for myself, and also from the time when we first started the Book Direct show, I came off all listing sites because I knew I had to, practice what I preached, and I knew it could be done. So that's where it comes from me.
Awesome. Yeah. It sounds like plenty of experience there. I won't comment on how many years of experience, but enough, as you said. So cool. Let's kind of get into the meat of this kind of webinar. And really, we're focused today, you've kind of told us why direct bookings, but now we want to get into, how do we increase direct bookings and how do we increase repeat direct bookings? So first off, I want to kind of talk about like repeat bookings. I just want to ask you, would you say it's easier to focus first on repeat bookings rather than net new guests?
For sure. Yeah. If you're at an early stage of your Book Direct, route, I would say 100%. It's very hard to actually convert a new booking on your own website. I think a lot of the time we have spanking new websites that look fantastic and we think, right, here we go, watch the bookings come in. And it usually does not happen. It's pretty hard to convert a booking. We have all kinds of obstacles. We have, levels of trust that we will never be able to compete with an Airbnb or Booking or Vrbo of this world, because there is an understanding of anyone who goes onto those booking platforms that it's a trustworthy site. You've got a huge array of properties to choose from. Your payment is going to be safe. That chances are the property is going to be verified or is going to be actually there. It doesn't often happen. It doesn't always happen, but it usually is. So there is that level of trust that makes things very difficult to get a booking through our own means. So 100% early days. I think repeat bookings, easiest way to make sure we can communicate with those guests, make them remember our brand. That's hugely important. I saw a statistic last year whereby something like 80% of guests do not remember our brand or who we are after within 2 months of their stay. So really just getting over that and making sure that they know who you are. Even, a brand can be just you. For me, for many years in my place in Spain, it was just me, but it was people remembering me and who I was, and that I was an accessible person, and I would check in, at that point it was probably every couple of months just by email, but that was enough to make them remember me and remember me if they were coming back to that place. So repeat bookings for sure, making sure you have an impeccable guest experience, and if they're going to come back to your place, for me, there's no excuse for them not for your name or brand or experience to be top of the pile, because these are the warmest leads after all.
Yeah, 100%. And then you kind of touched there on kind of both guest experience and guest communication. What are some of the ways that they can impact repeat bookings? And do you have any tips around how can you use communication to encourage a repeat booking from a happy guest? Sure.
I think that there's a couple of things here at play. I think we have to remember that we are accommodation providers. We are accommodating. We are not transactional. We have to remember to be accessible, real people behind the scenes. I think what OTAs have done is that they've changed the landscape, and they have made it far too easy to enter into this industry, but also just to see each guest as a transaction, like a conveyor belt. They come through, they leave, boom, money in, lovely, move on to the next one. So I think it's important to remember, no, actually we're accommodation providers, and we're in the hospitality industry. We have to remember that we are there to serve their needs, but not only thinking about this one transaction can lead to several down the line. My own place in Spain, I had people coming back years on years, again, showing my age. But what can be one simple booking can turn into months worth even further down the line. So to make sure it's an impeccable service, communication, hugely important, because they already trust you at this point. They've already had a good stay. They've presumably had their deposit refunded in a timely manner. So just make sure you remind them about you and your brand, and anything that's going on in your area as well. I think this is important, because sending previous guests email communication just about discounts and sales is really boring. Nobody wants to receive that. But what they do want, if they're coming back, is to know what's going on in your area. So if you can keep that level of communication open, it doesn't have to be every week, but maybe every 2 weeks or once a month, just to keep up that communication. I'm a huge advocate of that. It's not easy though, and it does take time. Mail makes this quite easy, especially on the early point of your journey. But I think it's really important. But social media, being on 1 or 2 social media platforms as well, building up your followers there, and making sure you're engaging. Social media is social; it's not selling. So making sure that people actually see your posts and engage with them. And WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp groups, fantastic to keep people updated about. As long as you don't spam them every day with stuff.
Of course,
I think it's a great way to keep in touch with previous guests.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, Hospitable as well, we're definitely advocates for the MailChimp side of things. We actually have an integration. And again, we're kind of, encouraging people, especially for their direct sites, to be building that email address, mailing list essentially. And every time you get a new guest, make sure that you're putting their email address in there. We want to be able to communicate with them in the future as well. We want to encourage them back. That definitely advocates for that. And WhatsApp as well. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, that's a great idea too. So many people on their phones all the time now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the younger generation as well, they don't open emails for the most part anymore. So I think WhatsApp and SMS, much higher open rate as well than any email campaign will generally achieve. So definitely explore those. Yeah.
Great. And then that's kind of talking about, getting repeat guests, but you kind of mentioned about, just starting out and obviously it being a challenge, getting new guests, initial guests via direct. And the website being one of those key areas, I guess, that people have to interact with when they first find you. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some things to think about when it comes to website design. I know that you're a bit of an expert on all things SEO, Damian. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit in terms of getting those initial guests via direct.
I don't want to turn people off too much straight away, because SEO is not something that it's not easy to do. It takes several months, if not years, to achieve significant milestones. Something to be aware of. And by all means, anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I can definitely give them some pointers on this. But I think it's important to know that I'm kind of going to assume here that a lot of people here have their own website, because it's going to be hard to really get bookings and repeat bookings or direct bookings with that one. If they do, you can have the most perfect looking website in the world, but it's not a set and forget. And I know that sounds obvious to a lot of people. However, how are you going to keep the site updated to please the search engines for a start, and with relevant, fresh content, but also things like trust we mentioned before. Why would someone trust us when they come to our website? They know we might. Can you show them that your property is verified in some particular way? And there's some great accreditations out there. Are you a local Chamber of Commerce member? Can you show your reviews, and not just copying and pasting? Actually using maybe an aggregator like Reviews that you guys have probably heard of, and bringing them over from those sites. To show them, in a widget on your website is a brilliant way to show people, not only that you've had previous guests, but you've had all these excellent reviews. Video testimonials as well, something that so few people do, and it's a lot easier than. Yeah, so I and other people ask when I do talks at some conferences. It's one of the first things I say: try video testimonials. Ask your repeat guests, especially, and hopefully when they're in stay, would they mind recording a 30-second video for you? So you just, they're just saying, hey, we're here, we're in such and such a place, we're having a great time. Damian was fantastic and such and such. these kind of reviews resonate so much more than something that's just copy and pasted onto a page. So that's one kind of recommendation I'd say on a website. Content in terms of SEO, but we could have hours on SEO. But one of the most important things I'd say is whenever I ask this at a conference or at a training session, do you know how the steps it takes for your guests to make a booking on your website? How many fields do they have to fill out? How many clicks do they have to make? And chances are a lot of people watching here won't actually know on their own website if it's a PMS or however their platform works. So me, know how your booking funnel works. How many pages or clicks does it take? Can you reduce it? Sometimes you may not be able to because it's a PMS, property management system that does it for you. But try to put yourself in the shoes of a guest. Are you asking too many things? Because there are so many fields that we often ask for in the booking funnel that are utterly irrelevant. Like we don't need a postal address, for example. We don't need to be upselling things before we get that final booking. So really, name, phone number, email address, and then credit card details. These are the main things we should be looking at. So reduce the booking funnel is one of the main things. And
Amazing. Cool. And then, that's really kind of the website itself. And I guess that's kind of talking about conversion once people are already on the website. But maybe we should also kind of take a step back. Airbnb obviously has kind of an algorithm that impacts how much your listings get seen. But obviously, there's a lot of work that has to go into kind of getting your website seen as well. So what are some of the other ways to kind of advertise your property and kind of grow that audience outside of SEO or email marketing to your existing base, I guess?
I guess social media is a very easy and for the most part free way of doing this. However, it can be time consuming. So one of the things I'd say is if your resources are limited, just stick to one or maybe two platforms. So if that's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it might be, don't try and spread yourself too thinly. Local partnerships, I think, are excellent. If you've got like even restaurants, local chamber of commerce, there's so many businesses in our local area that we can do reciprocal advertising with, which I think are really useful and underutilized. Pay-per-click campaigns, of course. You can spend a lot of money on things like Google Ads and Facebook ads. So I think you have to think quite creatively, control your budget, and use like longer kind of long tail keyword phrases. I won't go into that in too much detail now, but just think creatively about pay-per-click bidding and on those campaigns. They're kind of some of the things I would think of offhand, or ways that different kind of channels that we can use to potentially to advertise our properties and get people to come to our websites and hopefully book.
Awesome, sounds good. And then I seem to keep shifting gears, but kind of going back to almost the loyalty side of things and the repeat bookings. So kind of a two-part question, kind of around financing, I guess, not financing, but kind of the financials and pricing. So first, want to get your thoughts on kind of loyalty rewards for repeat direct booking guests, and then secondly, what are your thoughts around kind of offering discounts for people that are booking directly versus booking through a third party like Airbnb?
Yeah, great question. I think hopefully loyalty rewards will become more common in the next few years. At this time, I think we have some way to go to compete with the hotel industry. I think they offer a very good, the big companies, of course, they offer very good rewards. However, they've got hotel brands have a significant advantage over us in that they quite often are global or they're national and they'll operate in numerous destinations. So it's a lot easier for them to offer rewards to stay in any one of their properties, whereas we may have, and I know here you've got a lot of viewers with 1, 5, or 10 properties. They're possibly all in the same area, so it can be more difficult to get those rewards, to get a good rewards system in place. That said, we can be much more simple about how we approach this, and we can offer discounts. We know that chances are, if they book direct, we won't have to pay a commission, so we can reduce our prices to reflect those. We should always have a best price guarantee on our website anyway. That's an absolute given. And when I see websites saying best price guarantee, it's like, every guest who comes onto your website is a good best price guarantee. So this is not a thing anymore. Yes, we've got to say it, but I think the benefits on there are hugely important. The benefits of booking direct. And we very regularly won't have these on our homepage, but they must be on our homepage, and we must have a separate landing page, which is very visible on our website, to say what are the benefits. Are they an early check-in, a late checkout, freebies that we can offer? Best customer service is really underutilized, because chances are it's just you or a team. People are going to be able to get through to you straight away. They don't have to go through a third party. So I think rewards don't necessarily have to be financial. There are very creative ways we can look at offering rewards, and that could be a free coffee in your local cafe or something like this. So I think working with local partners as well is a really good way of achieving that. If that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah, I quite like that idea of kind of almost doing gifts and kind of more local focused rather than just straight 10% off, kind of no questions asked. It's probably a nicer touch and more personalized even than just money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good for the community as well to be for us to be thinking about working with them, because after all, a part of Book Direct is that we don't want money to huge big companies in countries the thousands of miles away from where we are actually located. So I think we should always be looking down that route. And chances are we're probably referring people to the same bars or restaurants or local highlights. So let's make something from this and establish some good partnerships. And chances are they will send you business back as well. Then that can work very well for like referral business and traffic.
Great. Awesome. And we just got a few more questions here, Damian, from my side. The Q&A looks to be filling up nicely. Just as Damian's talking, I tried to answer some very specific ones via text that were very specific to hospitable use cases. So I've tried to cover off some of those already. But if you have any more questions for Damian, please feel free to keep adding them to the Q&A. Like I say, we'll get to those in just a couple of minutes. Just two more questions to ask Damian here. Next up, Damian. So I want to kind of talk to you about some of the kind of challenges and risks that are associated with direct. We've actually got a few questions about this in the Q&A, so we may end up covering some of those off. But what are some of the challenges and risks that you often see hosts come up against when they first start focusing on direct? And maybe you have some tips and tricks for overcoming those.
I think the fear of jumping ship from the OTAs and that safe environment is the first thing. We get used to the bookings just being effectively handed to us and for everything to be done for us. Things like including payment, being a merchant of record. I guarantee for the vast majority of people here, that's a really scary thing at first. Taking payments on. Very few people will want to do that early in their journey, but you have to. That's really pivotal in terms of direct bookings. We want to get away from other companies being the merchant of record. The time involved, I guess, as well in all of the strategies involved in trying to generate more direct bookings, and that includes a website. If you're using a service like yourself, or using a WordPress website, or and that's let alone looking into SEO, the time involved is really it can be quite daunting, and especially for those who maybe are not in this full time. They've got a few properties, but they have a job. So that's pretty tough. When you've got a full-time job, you may have a family, and you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do all this stuff as well. You may think it may not be worth it, but it absolutely is, and that's how you can scale your booking. You can scale the booking, your business, and you can really make a success of it. I also think, and this is maybe more on a personal front, for me to one of the most daunting things for me, I guess, was the lack of what I saw as protection from OTAs, and security in terms of guests. And this is like at a time when those platforms were not vetting guests. That they're starting to get better at this now. But to know that you have some level of protection should a guest trash your place, and that's a worry for us all. We hear the horror stories. But there are amazing services out there now, Superhub for one, or AutoHost, or they provide just brilliant stuff behind the scenes, which means actually you don't even have to apply a damage or security deposit anymore, which is a really good tactic for direct bookings. So little things like this, I think it's trying to just get over that initial fear of taking your own bookings on. But really, chances are it's not going to be any more. They're not going to be any more disadvantaged for your overall business. And in actual fact, they'll come back again and again.
Great, awesome. So I did say that I had another question, but it looks like it's going to be asked in the Q&A anyway. So I think that we should actually move on to the Q&A from the audience. So I'm just going to try and go through here and pick out the ones that have the most upvotes. There's also been a bunch of questions, like I said, about Hospitable specifically. I'll try and keep those towards the end, and we'll focus on getting questions to Damian first whilst we have his time. He's the expert, so we want to get his tips. If we don't get to all the Hospitable ones, we'll make sure to follow up in an email. So just kind of starting off. Sorry, I have to just double check I'm reading this correctly before I try and read it out to you, Damian. So are charging booking fees part of your book direct strategy as a way to drive more revenue from a property management company? So I feel like that actually might be a bit geared towards Hospitable, to be honest, in our strategy.
Okay. I mean, for me, I would highlight the fact that there are no booking fees as a way to drive direct bookings, and that's something that I would make succinct and upfront and very clear on a homepage of a website. So I'm not sure if I've got that quite right, but in terms of booking fees, traveler booking fees, there are some platforms that still apply this, and I think we need to make sure that we disassociate ourselves with that, and that the guest knows that they're not going to pay this.
Great. So hopefully that's answered Ryan's question. But Ryan had a second question. So can property management companies of size of 10 or so listings benefit from a direct booking approach? Marketing costs are more challenging at a smaller scale. Looking forward to hearing how this might work for smaller portfolios.
So are we looking, 10 and above or under?
Around 10 or so listings. So
100%, right? 100%. This applies to everyone. I mean, this applies to me with my one property, 10, 15 years ago, through to companies who attend the Book Direct show of thousands of properties. It's relevant to us all. Yes, we've got different marketing budgets, some with zero marketing budget, but there are so many free ways to do this. And something I would suggest is to utilize Google as well. For your SEO, your keyword research, but also, actually up until a couple of days ago, I would have said to make sure you use your Google business profile and get yourself set up on there, because that's a really key ingredient for direct bookings and for reputation management. However, I know Google, they contacted me the other day in advance of the Book Direct show, and they are pushing everyone to Google vacation rentals, and not just somebody just commented on that. So it's not just going to be for PMSs or if you've got several hundred properties. It's all changing very imminently. So check out Google Vacation Rentals because that is going to help everyone significantly in their direct bookings. So these are all free tactics as well, by the way. So many things we can all do for free.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully that helps Ryan out there. Thank you for that, Damian. And just trying to keep an eye on, Ryan says thank you. So he's definitely got to check out Google Rentals. Cool. So next question. So it's this is from Cal, sorry. It's been challenging to convince guests to book directly from a website rather than well-established platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo. How to overcome guest mentality around this?
It's a $1 million question, and it's this is why I would probably say, if depending on where you are in your journey, but if you are taking the first steps, working on your repeat guest is in truth probably the easiest strategy here. But a couple of things that we touched on. Trust is hugely important. How can you get someone who visits your website to actually trust what you're offering? And I think there are several ways. We touched upon some of them with accreditations and reviews, but making yourself less anonymous for me is hugely important. Having an About Us page and talking about the team with photos as well. I think that's really key, because otherwise people don't know who is the real such and such a brand. Do they know that it's Damian and Miles and his team, and they can see nice photos? Look, I know anyone could make fake pictures and bios and stuff, but these little things all help. So I think making ourselves less anonymous, having a phone number, really key, even though chances are people may not call you, but a clickable phone number on your website is really important, especially if you take group bookings. And there are just different things that subliminally help people trust your site, but get those benefits up there as well that I mentioned before, as to why someone should consider booking with you over an OTA. And I've been there with myself and my clients, and I suspect some people here will as well, when people have been on your website, but then they may have asked a question and then they go and book on an OTA, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, we could have averted that. So just try and do all possible to get them to trust you, and at very least maybe get an email address and the name, obviously.
Great. Yeah. And sorry, just briefly, I just want to cover off regarding the recording of the session. We will send everyone here a recording. Everyone that's registered for the event will get the recording. No need to leave your email in the chat. We will share that, and we'll also post it on our YouTube channel as well shortly after the event. Cool. So next question, we've actually got another one from Ryan. I think it's a really good question. It's got a couple of upvotes. So WhatsApp groups you mentioned before, kind of wants you to elaborate on that a bit more. So Ryan said he hadn't thought about that before. Would you ask guests if they like to be added to WhatsApp group to stay informed, or what's going on there? What's kind of the process that you should be following?
Absolutely, ask them to opt in for sure, and you can send them a link to do that, or you can ask them if you'd like you to opt them in. But yeah, I would never do it. It does happen. I would never add somebody in without their strict permission. And you can make this a one-way conversation as well. There are settings to do that in WhatsApp. So you can say, we will send you, one update every week or two. And then it's a really simple way without bombarding them. And also, most importantly, without their phone pinging to responses all the time. It's a really good way to keep people updated. The open rate is so much higher. And videos as well. You can send them videos, which is so much more engaging than just, we have a 10% off offer for this week or that. Let them see the property, and really let them engage with it whilst, just for 20, 30 seconds. But it's a nice way to communicate with people.
Great. Apologies if you can hear a dog barking in the background. That is my dog. Hopefully she'll quiet down in a second or two. So one great question here. People clearly love listening to you, Damian. Brian asked if you've got a podcast at all, somewhere else that we can go and hear more from you.
That's very kind. I don't have a podcast. No, I just don't say. I'd love. I've been meaning to for years. I've never had the time. However, if you want to come and hear us at the Book Direct show, please do. But no, we do have the Book Direct network, which I admittedly have dropped the ball with a little bit over the last year because I've been so busy. But if you check that out, the bookdirect.network, there's a lot of content on there with some great contributors. Not necessarily myself, but we gather some great contributions from other people out there. But join me on LinkedIn. Please do hook me up on LinkedIn. This is where I do most of my posts and sharing, and just get in contact. I do what I say here as well. I try to be very accessible and to share my knowledge with people. So yeah, hook me up there.
Great. Thank you very much. And then we've had a couple of questions in chat and QA. Kind of just around that, the damage coverage and kind of liability coverage. So obviously, we've mentioned that our direct premium offering is going to be integrated with AutoHost and Superhog. I know a couple of people missed the names there. Maybe you can go into a bit more detail on, why kind of damage protection and guest screening is important, Damian, and just kind of delve a little deeper on that for those that couldn't hear that part too well.
I'm not sure if I can go into it in too much more detail, really. I think it's really, in terms of one of the obstacles that we all have and fear at first is just the guests and having strangers coming into our homes. And we don't know who they are, where they're coming from. I think just getting over that, but with help with some software for protection is great. If you do want to charge for insurance, you can add premiums. You can add that into your rates as well. So yeah, I think it's just really for your own peace of mind is to explore those two, Superhog and AutoHost. I think they're great products.
Great. So you'd say that the extra dollar investment there is worth kind of the protection and the peace of mind.
100%, yeah, they near on guarantee your protection for all bookings. So they'll have the statistics on there, better than I will. But I think it's worth exploring for everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah. So if everyone wants to go and check those out, that's autohost.ai and Superhog. So we can provide links afterwards as well for further reading too. Cool. So next question. This is kind of quite specific from Laura, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but maybe it's something you've come across before. So Laura has her property listed on Google Maps, but when guests click to book, they are shown a link to booking.com. How do you get around this? Presumably Laura wants to kind of send them to direct rather than booking.com.
Log into your, perhaps you haven't set up a Google business profile up to now, and it could be an automated thing from Google. Chances are it is. So I would make sure you register for Google business profile. That said, be aware of Google Vacation Rentals coming as well. But yeah, just to make sure then you, in the back end of Google business profile, you have your own website link in there. And that's the way to do that.
Great. Thank you very much. And the next question, so I had it just here and then I've lost it again. So many questions. Cool. So so many questions about Hospital Direct. Like I say, I'll try and cover those off, but I want to make sure that we're using your time efficiently. So Carl asks, and I think a couple of other people asked this, but you talked about the review aggregator, review, I think it's called, and you maybe want to spell that out. Maybe you can just talk about what that does exactly and tell us where to find out more information.
Yeah, it's a great product. So it's called Reviews, REVYOOS. And what it does is it links up with your OTA listings, your Google profile, and various channels where you have reviews. It aggregates them all together in a really pretty way where you've got 4 or 5 stars showing, and it kind of brings it over into some nice HTML code, which you can then add to your website, and it just shows up there, looking pretty, and with links back to those listings if you want. But it's just so good. I'm a big fan of Christoph and what he's doing there. So yeah, reviews. I think it's reviews.com.
Yeah, someone actually linked that, so I went and checked it out, and it works. So yeah, go check that out, everyone. Thank you for that. So another question for you around kind of a reward system, a loyalty system. I know you kind of talked about potentially doing, something more personal, like local discounts or kind of a gift. But what are your ideas and thoughts around kind of a tiered reward system? That was a question from an anonymous attendee. I presume they're kind of suggesting based on number of stays or number of nights booked.
In truth, I have very rarely seen this work well in the short-term rental industry. And I think and I myself have not got an answer for this. I would love to see it, but I think it's more difficult for it to work in the short-term rental industry at the moment, unless you're a massive player that operates across multiple destinations and have got money to integrate this into your system. I think it can be tricky. So the absolute truth, honest answer is here, I do not know the best way around this, apart from a more manual process whereby we can maybe offer discount codes to or promotional codes to our previous guests. That's a fairly easy win for them to come back to your site to book again. But in terms of like points or anything like that, for me, I'm not sure yet.
Fair enough. A good, honest answer there, Damian. Thank you very much. Cool. So, like I said, there's quite a few questions around Hospitable Direct. So just to kind of cover off, I'll try and do an all-encompassing answer to that. So our Hospitable Direct solution is currently in a private pilot. So it's going to be in private pilot for a few weeks. Just make sure we're ironing out all the bugs and any issues there. Then it'll go into a beta for a few weeks as well. And then we'll be live to the public. So we're talking a couple of months here until we're fully public to everyone. Like I said at the start, we'll be able to, with that, be your payment processor. So we'll be the merchant of record. We're not actually the payment processor, but we're integrated with payment processor and we'll be the merchant of record. And essentially that means that, we take a lot of risk out of the equation. And also means that, any time that there's a fee on a refund that the processor's charging, it'll be Hospitable that are kind of shouldering that, and rather than you having to pay for that processing fee for that refund. And also, we talked about AutoHost and Superhog. When that launch comes of our direct offering, those integrations will be launched alongside that. So as I said, if you're choosing the premium offering that includes those, you'll be kind of covered with all your bookings. So, AutoHost normally work with people that only have 25 properties and up. But even if you just have a couple of properties, if you're using Hospitable, you'll be able to use their guest vetting as well. That's a great way to screen guests before they book, and that gives you kind of a bit of peace of mind on who you're inviting into your property. And then Superhog as well, as we said, that's damage protection on every booking for each of your properties, and that's $5 million worth of damage protection, which I assume not many people manage to hit. I'd hope that's quite a lot of coverage. So hopefully that answers kind of a bunch of the questions on that. We did also have a couple of questions about video reviews and our reward system. We can share a bit more detail on that. We don't currently have integrations for those. But we're definitely going to relay those to our product team so that it can start thinking about adding those in. Damian, you've clearly brought up some good points that people want to implement. So you've made our product team a little bit busy over the next couple of weeks to try and get those figured out. Cool. So, one more thing I think from the audience that we haven't covered was from Kristen. What are your thoughts on using Price Labs for direct booking pricing? I'm hesitating giving away control on pricing to Price Labs. Again, the main benefit of direct booking is obviously control. So that's where the hesitation comes from.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Price Labs. I would 100% say explore them and give them a chance. Any dynamic pricing tool a chance. There are several out there. I'm a big fan of Price Labs though, and I think sometimes we can think we know our rates better than most. However, these tools are incredible, what they do and how they can anticipate more guest traffic and demand. And I think they are. I've seen nearly every company I've worked with have grown their bookings as a result of using a dynamic pricing tool like Price Labs. So I don't think you should look at it in terms of giving away control. Actually, they bring in extra bookings and more rewarding bookings often as well. You may think they're going to drive down your rates. Actually, quite often it's the reverse. They will increase your rates, and you will get those bookings as well. So 100% do explore it and do try it out, because they're amazing what they do.
Awesome. Sounds good. And then I think final question from the audience, and then I think we're going to have to start to wrap things up. Jason's just saying that Verbo provides email addresses, but not so much on booking.com, as in real email addresses. I know Airbnb make up their own kind of thing, their own system, so you can't email direct. How do you go about gathering the initial emails for direct booking? How do we get those emails from our guests?
Yeah, so you have to think creatively, but one very easy way is taking it offline. If you've got a phone number, ask them to send your email address to send them the check-in details. Or if they want to receive information like a guidebook with all the information they're going to need for their stay, you need an email address. Please send it over to us via WhatsApp, or there are other tools out there, Google Forms as well. So just think a little bit creatively. Is there something you can actually offer? But do it sooner rather than later as well, because quite often we forget, and before we miss it, before we know it, we've missed the boat, and the opportunity is gone. So make sure for every booking you try and get that email address, and not just somebody mentioned StayFi. Brilliant suggestion. Really great in-stay tool to get people to log on to Wi-Fi and get their email address. And I was going to say, in terms of getting email addresses, don't just get the lead booker's email address. Look at getting all of the parties' email addresses, because it could well be that they're all going to come back, at least, or just one of them. But for them to be able to be shown your brand, if that's on WhatsApp or email communication, you can grow your email database or your whole database, but tenfold over the course of months. So do make sure you get those email addresses in those various ways.
Nice. Yeah, I love the shout out for StayFi. StayFi, obviously, it's kind of like a gated Wi-Fi at your property. So it essentially makes the guest add in their email address before they can access the Wi-Fi. And it's obviously a great way to just quite easily collect email addresses. Everyone wants to get on the Wi-Fi. So there you go. That's your email address collected there and then. Quite easy peasy, really. Great. So I think we're going to have to, wrap this thing up, Damian. So first of all, thank you, Damian, for joining us today and sharing so many great insights. But most importantly, thank you all so much for joining and being such an active audience. We've had tons of questions today. Try to get to as many of them as we can. There are a couple more specific ones based on people's experiences with Hospitable and specific use cases and account questions. We'll get to those separately and follow up with those to make sure you get your any issues resolved and your questions answered. But before we fully wrap up, Damian, just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give a little shout out again for anything that you've got upcoming. Maybe it's one of your events that you want to encourage people to go and check out. Maybe it's your LinkedIn profile.
LinkedIn, hit me up on LinkedIn for sure. That's where I do most of my my public posts and engagement. But if anybody's interested, especially those in Europe, we have our short stay week coming up in May in Barcelona, whereby we have our scale rental show for professional property managers of over 25 properties, but also the Book Direct show, more importantly, relating to this conversation. And there's no restriction on anyone to come there. It's a full day conference all about direct booking strategies. We've got some amazing speakers. Check out the site bookdirect.show or the shortstayweek.com. Be really thrilled to have as many of you there as possible. And we've got, I should also say, we've got several events going on that week. We've got an SEO event, got a luxury event, Web3 event, guest communication event, and the buyers and sellers kind of networking events. So we're going to be busy that week.
Nice. And, Damian, shoot those links across to me and I'll make sure we include them in the follow-up email along with a recording of this event. We'll also put it on YouTube as well. So if anyone didn't get all of that, you will get a follow-up email probably on Monday by the time we've actually uploaded this, but we'll follow up soon so you can get onto all those resources. So if you enjoyed this event today, please stay tuned for our next hospitable masterclass. We'll provide a link to that to register also in the follow-up email. That's going to be on Direct Booking Websites 101 and how to build credibility with the pioneer of trust, Chris Mohern from iPrac. And as I mentioned at the start, we'll follow up on the direct offering as well and include some information on that. I know there's been plenty of questions. So last thing to say is just thank you everyone for attending and thanks again to Damian and everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.